My name's Ryan. I'm a full-time cartoonist and writer. I move to a new country every year, and here I'm in Korea. And so I'm a storyteller, so that's what I'm here to do. Tonight I want to tell the story of the time that I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise because anyone who's ever climbed Mount Kilimanjaro won't shut up about it. And that's because it makes them feel like a tough guy. And that's pretty much the only reason to climb Kilimanjaro. There's no flora, there's no fauna, all the snow's melted. It's basically just rocks and street cred. So there's a lot of parts of the story that they don't tell you when people give you the tough guy version of the story. For example, the biggest one being that if you can make it to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro and still be a fat, out of shape wuss. They don't tell you about the fact that the first 5 days of their week-long hike up the mountain involves walking for an hour, stopping, and then sitting in a tent adjusting to the altitude for 23 hours. They don't mention the army of porters that are constantly running up the mountain ahead of them in pajama bottoms and flip-flops, carrying their backpacks and a week's worth of food, water, and camping supplies. And they don't tell you that despite all of these advantages, it's pretty much every moment you feel like you're going to die. Toward the end of my trek up Kilimanjaro, I was basically averaging about a step per minute. And every 6 or 7 steps, I'd have to sit down and take a break. And about every 6 or 7 breaks, I'd have to take a nap. And my guide really didn't like me. He just kept yelling, "Will you give up already? Everyone else that went today has been up the mountain, down the other side, up to the second peak, taken their photos, back down, packed up all their stuff, walked to the next campsite, and they're roasting marshmallows already. You're about 10 feet from camp." And I'm like, "Shut up, I'm gonna make it." Give me a minute. Yeah, so he really wasn't too happy about that. I was actually kind of pissed that someone that I paid money to help me make it up the mountain would be actively campaigning for me to quit. But now that I think back on some of the red flags I was giving him, he might have been right. Like, for example, raise your hands, how many people here have ever fainted while pooping? It's just me? Yeah, I didn't know you could be so exhausted that that's a thing that you would black out while doing because you didn't have enough energy. I don't know how long I was unconscious. I just know that the guy didn't want to get involved. And what I had landed in had enough time to dry. I didn't bring any toilet paper, but I did borrow my sister's sweatshirt, which was absorbent, and she didn't get it back.
Didn't want it back.
Yeah, no. She doesn't know why she didn't get it back. You people are the only ones that know why she didn't get it back. But that was not rock bottom. The worst moment was when I was so dehydrated, my face was basically felt like I couldn't move my lips. They felt like stone. I needed some water, and I had 1 gulp left, which was in a bottle in a side pocket about 4 inches from my hand. And I saw my guide just staring at me in horror as I tried to build up the energy to lift the bottle to my mouth, which took 7 minutes. And when I finally got it up there, I realized I didn't have any energy left to swallow. So I just had to stand there sobbing while the last of my water just dripped out of my face onto my shirt, and my guide just went. And it kind of became a back and forth where you'd hear, "Give up, shut up." And he started telling me stories about all the other people who'd given up to kind of motivate me in the wrong direction. And he told me this one guy I had to carry him down and get a Jeep because he got malaria halfway up the mountain. And I'm like, huh, what are the symptoms of that? And he goes, you know, exhaustion, nausea, headache, stomachache. I'm like, I have all that! Dude, I might have malaria. He's like, don't worry, you don't have malaria. And I'm like, no, I'm not worried, I want the malaria. He didn't get that. And I'm like, no, you understand. It's not like I'm pro-malaria. It's just that if I already have the symptoms, I might as well have the malaria and get a better story out of it. Because I basically have two options here. Number one is, I friggin' bravely faced death marching up this mountain with malaria and made it to the top. And the second is, I almost died because I'm a fat, out of shape idiot. I did not have malaria. But what I did do is I friggin' marched up that mountain, maybe 8 hours late, but I made it to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. And I just immediately fell down on the ground in this, like, ugly, exhausted, dripping wet Jesus pose. Just so happy and content with the world. Nothing could possibly go wrong. I could do anything. Until the guy gave me a little kick and said, get up, we gotta go back down. Thank you.